Yo, it's your boy TTK, and we're back with another PU video for you guys today. We're going to be going over, so this thread just came out actually, like I cut myself off my stencils, but yeah, SVPU personal valuability rankings, we're basically going to be doing that. A lot of people have already posted their, tier lists. We've already gotten a good amount of responses actually. It goes to show that a lot of people are playing this meta, and it's pretty, like, some opinions are very skewed to one direction and to the other direction as well, and like it's nice to see other people's opinions. And obviously I have to make content out of this because that's my job, so to speak, like to make Pokemon videos. So yeah, we're gonna be doing that. If you guys enjoy this video, please leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel for more content. But either way, let's go on to the PU tier list. I've kind of altered the rows and whatnot. I removed like 2 rows because, like, I do like the lettering system of grading and the viability rankings, but at this current time, the meta is still in its early stages. So I'd prefer to just have, like, I wouldn't even say these are arbitrary descriptions. It's more of, like, obviously you play the tier, you know what's good, you know what's bad. You also know, like, what's the best of the best and stuff like that. So we're going to start from the top, essentially. And it goes the Shadow Realm Pokemon. Now, Shadow Realm means I want these mons gone, like, as soon as possible. And the first one I want to talk about is Vivillon. I don't think Vivillon stays in this tier for much longer. I hope it doesn't, because it's just not a good presence in this tier. It's like, it's set up too easily. Sleep powders pretty damn near accurate. Like accurate sleep on a very fast Pokemon like Vivillon in terms of PU standards is not something I really want in this tier. I'm not gonna lie. It's set up too easily. Terrestrialization also just pushes this thing over the edge because its dual stabs kind of suck. But when you pair Vivillon with Terra Ground or Terra Fighting, flying, ground flying, that's a lot of coverage you're hitting, and it's just impossible to kind of handle this Pokemon like too efficiently. He's not really a great presence on this tier. I see some people even saying Vivillon's fine in this tier. I'm just like, bro, how are you saying Vivillon's fine in this tier, bro? Like, it comes out on anything slower. It's sleep powders. You have to sack them onto sleep, and like people be like, oh, Vital Spirit. Like, we have Vital Spirit, Vigor off, and like Insomnia, Bayonet, even Hypno, for example. I'm just like, damn, you guys, man. So you're saying, oh, 3 mons out of, give or take 50 or 60, that's enough to handle Vivillon, man. Yeah, man, it's rubbish. It's rubbish. Get this one out of here, man. Oricorio, Fire's gotten banned recently, and Pau, like, I would prefer to have this also gone as well. I don't think PU needs these quiver dances. I'm not gonna lie. They just make games very annoying to deal with. Like, we already struggle with defensive calls. We already struggle with lack of removal options. It's so easy to keep hazards up onto the field, get these mons in, and it's just so easy to chip down the defensive answers, which aren't even that many to begin with in the first place. So yeah, that's just like another QD mon that just needs to go. Now, in terms of Lilligant, because that's the only other QD mon available, frankly, I still think Lilligant's probably something that's annoying as well, but I wouldn't put in the Shadow Realm yet, because like these two are just clearly just better than Lilligant in the first place. Like, Oricorio has Dancer, has it has greater like it can run bulky sets and still do its job, while Lilligant also struggles with coverage as well, more reliant on terrestrialization. And Vivillon has accurate sleep, even though it's 1 point slower than Lilligant. Having the accurate sleep just makes its job even easier. So I don't think Lilligant's at their level right now, but obviously if these two get Shadow Realmed, then Lilligant, like, there's nothing to compete with it, so it'll probably become an annoying Pokemon to deal with. I also don't really get the argument that over-reliant on Terra. When has that ever really been a bad thing for Pokemon? Like it Terra fires, and like, what's the switching, bro? Like, what's the switching? Like, I'm not gonna lie, Grass Fire is resisted by fire types, but like, you have Houndoom, you have Pyro. Like, we don't have fire types in this tier. Like, you really have to realize that, like, that argument is so bad, and I don't really understand why it's an argument, to be fair. And even then, like, you kill the fire type, and then like the defensive, like, we do have special defensive tanks that can handle like Lilligant, or handle in inverted commas, but they just get slept, and they just settle for that. Like, it's still an annoying Pokemon at the end of the day to face, but I don't think it's on the level of Vivillon and Oricorio Pau yet. But like when these two get banned, hopefully, you know, that you know, comes around. But yeah, let's look at the meta options, because there's nothing else that needs to be Shadow Realmed at this current time. Dugtrio, very good Pokemon, very fast, hits very hard. Substitute, Edge Quick, Sucker Punch combination is very strong. Like, it's very bad if you give Dugtrio a free sub, like, because it's pretty hard to like switch into this Pokemon. And I know like we have like grasses that can kind of switch into this Pokemon, like GoGo and Leafeon, for example, but like everything else is just kind of EQ food. Like, it's pretty simple. And like Terrassalization as well also works on this Pokemon. Like Terra Ground EQ is also just dealing huge amounts of damage. It's very easy to also use Dugtrio as well, because like the premier steel types in the tier are very common, and Dugtrio obviously takes advantage of them. So it's very easy to get up a sub and, you know, just start dealing mayhem. So that's why Dugtrio is like there pretty much. We also have I mean, I'll be doing this row by row basis, but like anything I see that's like the meta, basically, I'll basically include that as well. Houndoom, we'll start off with Houndoom now. Houndoom, should it get Shadow Realmed? I don't know. A lot of people say Houndoom is broken. I might be slightly inclined to agree, but I just really think the Quiver Dance is on a completely different level, that they just walk the meta essentially. And like, you could say Houndoom does have that walking sense in the meta as well, where it's a mon that's very fast, it hits very hard, doesn't really have that many good switch-ins in the first place, and it can go Terra to, you know, get rid of its, you know, weaknesses and like bypass its checks. But I don't know, like, it just doesn't feel that broken to me when I'm using it. Like, it just feels like a very solid Pokemon to me. Now, it could be a mon that gets suspect tested in the future, we don't know, but yeah, I just don't think it's on the level of these two for me to say this mon needs to get Shadow Realmed. But it's definitely a meta Pokemon, and like like, you play any sort of games with PU, there will be a Houndoom, like maybe every other game, or every, you know, 2 games or 3 games, you will see Houndoom. So that's why I'm putting it there. And it's not only because it's a common Pokemon. Well, you really have to think about, if it's common, why is it common? It's because it's good. Like, the logic behind that is very simple to understand. Yeah, in terms of the meta options as well, I'm going to put Haunter in here as well, because Haunter is just kind of jarring to face as well. This one shares the same speed as Houndoom, arguably has better stab, got Focus Blast this generation. Like, why the hell does PU have Haunter, bro? Like, and you not taking this is kind of crazy. Nasty Plot 2, I don't know, this one's also, people say Haunter is also kind of, you know, like broken as well, to be fair, and I can kind of understand where they're coming from with that, to be honest, because it is just too strong, to be fair. What else? Magneton as well. Magneton definitely goes here. This is in like no particular order right now. I'm just placing these mons where they deserve to go. But yeah, Magneton's also a very annoying Pokemon. Reason being, we don't have many common ground types, and the ground types just get shamooned by Terra Water Magneton or Terra Ice Magneton. And like, Terra obviously helps his mon out a lot. His Talonful weakness to ground is probably his biggest flaw. You know, his Dugtrio food. And like, obviously Terra and Magneton is actually pretty good, because you lose your ground weakness, you kill the ground types, and you know, you just volt out. And you know, if you Terra Water, you're only weak to grass and electric, which obviously you can volt out on. And then if you Terra Ice, I mean, your defensive typing does get worse, but at least you beat, you know, Gabite 1v1. Like, I mean, you already beat it 1v1. Analytic just nukes Gabite anyway, but you get what I'm saying, basically. Like, you either go Terra Water or Ice to, you know, beat the ground type Pokemon. Crabominable, I almost like couldn't even find this Pokemon. This one also is teetering onto the, you know, like side of unhealthy as well. It hits very hard. Again, our defensive staples aren't necessarily too strong. Like, they're enough for the amount of Pokemon we have, but something like Crab easily just breaks past some of our common defensive Pokemon, breaks past Camerupt, breaks past Tinkertuff, breaks past Berserker. You know, like, there's just no switch-ins to this Pokemon. The only thing that lets this Pokemon down, of course, is that it'll never be that strong, because it's slower than everything. Like, it's slower than Camerupt. Like, you have to run speed to outspeed like Zero Speed Camerupt. Like, things like that. Like, Crab speed is his biggest weakness. Also, its typing isn't really the best unless you read Terra, and Terra Electric has been finding some usage because you only have one weakness. And obviously, like, it's still a bulky Pokemon as well, so it's able to take hits with an Assault Vest, you know, set, and yeah, Crab just does its own thing, but really that Speed Tail lets it down, so that's why I don't think it's too, like, unhealthy yet, but in the future, it really depends. I can't really imagine the meta in the future as of now. I'm only thinking about the now and the near future, you get me? So, yeah, that's why Crab is part of the meta. Skuntank as well. This one is definitely meta for sure. T-Spikes in this tier are very, very dangerous. If you've ever faced like T-Spikes and you're not running a poison, because we don't really have that many, to be honest. We have Skuntank, we have Survivor, which is, you know, not an on-mon, but, you know, it's not that good. Swallow is decent enough, and then, yeah, that's about it. Skuntank is obviously the premier poison type in this tier, because, you know, its typing is pretty good. It only has one, you know, weakness to ground. It's a poison with a psychic immunity, because it's part dark, and, yeah, it has T-Spikes itself. So, you know, if you want to use T-Spikes, you either have options like Glimmer or you use Skuntank, and that's why Skuntank is so good, because it removes T-Spikes, it sets T-Spikes. It also is one of the best checks to Haunter in this tier by a long shot. You know, you're neutral to fighting, you obviously Sucker Punch Haunter to kill it instantly, or obviously if it terrors, you kind of just play around that, I suppose, with your Poison Stab. And yeah, Skuntank is very, very good. Is there any other meta Pokemon we're missing? Oh yeah, we're not really missing on that. Pyro, Berserker, you know, just to keep that in my mind. Pyro's basically in the same situation as, you know, Houndoom, for example. It's a fast fire type, it hits very hard. His dual stab is definitely worse. Locking yourself into Hyper Voice if you're running a spec set is kind of annoying, seeing how, you know, steel types are coming, especially like Tinkertoff. Like, I am preferring, like, you know, choiceless Pyro, because it still does decent damage. You know, it can run heavy duty boots, it could potentially run a Life Orb as well. I've tried Charcoal as well, just to, you know, because I do believe switching up moves is better. Like, Houndoom locking itself into Dark Pulse is a lot better than Pyro locking itself into Hyper Voice, you get me? So, you know, things like that. It basically does the same thing. It doesn't have Nasty Plot though, but it also just hits very hard. It's faster than pretty much everything in the tier other than, you know, Persian, Sneasel, you know, all of that stuff, and that's why Pyro is quite an excellent Pokemon right now. Berserker as well. This is like definitely one of the premier steals. Like, you can't really go too far in Scarlet and Violet PU without seeing a Berserker at this rate. Like, it hits very hard. It's a very good pivot. Defensive is solid as well. Has you know, again, it's just its high damage output for one that could run both offense and defense. And yeah, Berserker is definitely one of the best Pokemon in this tier by a long shot, I won't lie. And yeah, I do want to include Quaxwell in here as well, because you know, it's our only, you know, spinner that's good. I'm not gonna lie, Carcoal's not good. I've never liked Carcoal, not in Gen 8 and not in Gen 9. I don't like that Pokemon. And Quaxwell does a lot. You know, it can run bulk, it can you know, check things like Dugtrio, check you know, Houndoom, Pyro, unless they Terra Grass, of course. It can also kind of check grass types as well, because grass types would try and switch into Rapid Spin or Liquidation, for example, and then, you know, they just get shamoned by Brave Bird. And, you know, Quaxwell isn't passive either. Like, base 85 attack, if you actually invest into that, hits like grass types pretty hard. Like, it definitely OHKO something like Captain with Brave Bird. Basically, OHKO's Lilligant after rocks, and yeah, it's just a very potent Pokemon in this meta. You can't really go far without also not seeing Quaxwell either, because, you know, it's a spinner. We don't really have many default options in this tier. Like, we already banned one, or a Career Fire, and Pau will probably get banned later down the line as well, and then we just lose all our defaulters. So, you know, we kind of just have to rely on Quaxwell right now to do that job for us. But yeah, other than that, is there any other meta options? I don't know. Like, I think that's really it, to be fair. Like, maybe I could include Indeedee, but I'm going to move on to the good options, because there's actually a good amount of good options in this tier. I'm going to start off with Golduck here. And Golduck, you know, Rain is pretty strong in PU. Like, it's not broken, because like, at the end of the day, Weather's like fundamentally has its weaknesses as a playstyle, but Golduck does a good job, I'm not gonna lie. Even outside of Weather as well, it can set up its own Rain Dance. It can also run Cloud9 to C-team other Weather teams. Like, if like Golduck on its own, like, a lot of tier, like we don't really have any offensive waters in this tier, like other than like Frogadier, which is actually a decent pick. But you know, Golduck, I do think is the premier like water attacker in this tier because it just does a lot of damage, especially if rain is up. It also can run like Choice Scarf pretty well. Choice Scarf, Cloud9 can obviously just C-team things like Sun pretty easily as well. But yeah, his main like thing is, you know, obviously just you know, getting in rain, Terra Water Surf or Terra Water Hydro Pump and start killing things. That's just what Golduck does, and is very good at what it does, because at +2 nothing's outspeeding it, and then like you kind of just have to rely on like your own. The opponent has to either Terra themselves to counter out Golduck, which you can obviously like play around. If they're gonna Terra Water, don't, you know, click the water move, or you know, like have a grass type that is like Cacturn kind of friends it when it's chipped. But overall, Golduck is a pretty good option in this tier. I actually want to include Electrode in here because it's pretty fast. I've been seeing a lot of Electrode hype and I can understand it. Like, there's a lot of electrics in this tier. We have Magneton, we have Rotom Frost, and I do think Electrode is almost up there with them. Like, it's almost there. Speaking of Rotom Frost, oh, there it is. But yeah, easily here as well. It's very fast. Taunt, Volt Switch, Terra also really helps this one out a lot in terms of being its checks. And yeah, I wouldn't even say it's underrated. It's just that Frostum and Magneton are just obviously easier to use. They don't really rely on Terra too much. I mean, Magneton kind of does, but even without Terra is a menace, and you know, Electrode can be that menace with Terra. So yeah, that's why I'm including it here. Raichu obviously goes here as well. Pretty much similar situation to Electrode. Is fast, though not as fast. It's stronger, has Nasty Plot, has much better coverage. It's not relying on Terra Blast. Like, you can go Terra Flying Raichu to avoid ground type attacks. You can go Terra Water Raichu to, you know, boost your surf damage. And yeah, it's overall just a pretty solid Pokemon in this meta as well. Dragonair, that, like, I feel like the good options are going to be pretty full, but yeah, Terra Normal DD, very, very strong. DD rest sets as well, like it has Shed Skin, so like you could just get lucky and wake up on the first turn after using rest, and you know, this thing can sweep pretty well. It doesn't really need too much support to do what it does. Has insane bulk. Like, this thing took like 30 from like Specs Pyro. Like, it took that so well. I was very, very surprised. And yeah, Dragonair definitely belongs there. I'll definitely put Jumpluff in here as well. Fast Mon, has Sleep Powder, has Strength Sap. I haven't really seen too much of it, but it is a good Pokemon. It is a good pivot. It does have its difficulties, I suppose. Like, Steel types kind of cuck it, but like if you go like SD Terra Fire, that could definitely just fix a lot of your issues and stuff like that. But yeah, I do think it's pretty solid. I'm putting Mischievous in here now. I don't know how many people rate Mischievous, but that's definitely a Pokemon I rate like 100%. Spin Blocker, has good bulk for PU, like it's fast as well, has Will-O-Wisp, has Hex. Terra also helps this mon out a lot in terms of if it wants to run an offensive set as well. Nasty Plot, Terra Blast, Fighting, like beats Steel types. Has Eviolite too. Like, it's a more bulkier version of Haunter, and Haunter really has no bulk going for it, and Mischievous actually does, which you know, is a pretty good alternative for it. So that's why I'm putting it here as well. Like, I'm trying not to explain too much of my reasoning so this video doesn't drag on too long, because we do have decent like amount of Pokemon to go through, at least here. So like, I'll try and keep my descriptions to a minimum, you get me? So good options. I'll put Vigor in here. Like, I remember Rien like was trying to get on to me for trying to say Vigor wasn't S tier. Like, at the end of the day, like, we all have different opinions on this stuff. So if you don't agree, you don't have to really devolve into like, you know, oh, you haven't used a Pokemon because you're not agreeing with me that is S tier. Like, let's just not even do that. But anyway, like, Vigor obviously one of the better Vivillon checks and Lilligant checks as well, because Vital Spirit prevents it from being slept. It's also pretty bulky. Taunt Bulk Up is a pretty good set, though a lot of the people that are claiming Vigor to be this, you know, menace to the PU tier really haven't really provided like the burden of proof is on them to, you know, suggest that Vigor offers a Pokemon of that caliber. But I will respect this Pokemon and what it does in this meta game, so it is a good option to run right now, in my opinion. But yeah, Camerupt, I really wanted to go Camerupt in Alright, because I have not been too impressed with Camerupt, but it's one of our few rockers. Terra really patches up its, you know, weaknesses, and Solid Rock does give it good bulk to, you know, tank hits that it shouldn't really be tanking too well, to be fair. Grumpig, should I just put Grumpig in meta? At the same time, it's not really meta. Like, these mons here are definitely defining PU right now. That's for sure. Like, I don't really think any other mons really come too close. Maybe I'll put Goodbye in here. We'll think about it. But yeah, Grumpig definitely deserves to be here. His special bulk is pretty solid. Terra also helps out with that. It can actually check the fires pretty well too, especially Pyro. Like, thick fat means your fire resistance. You also check Crab decently well as well. Like, people are trying to say that Grumpig isn't really a good Crab check. Now, Crab's dual stabs obviously do nothing to Grumpig, and if you do invest in like defense, you're not really taking too much. You also have pretty good utility options in Thunder Wave and Whirlwind. So yeah, I've been using Grumpig a lot because, you know, Crab is kind of a pain in the ass, and it also just helps me check other Pokemon in this tier as well, like Oricorio, for example. So, you know, Grumpig's definitely a good mon. I want to put Luxray in here as well. I do think Luxray is underrated. Agility Terra Normal hits very hard. It's pretty hard to revenge kill that. And like, it's hard to check as well. Like, the Steel types obviously resist Facade, but Luxray has Fire Fang, and then obviously you can play around that. Guts means that you can't really get status. Like, you can't get T-Wave. You can't be annoyed by T-Wave either, which things like Tinkerton like running as well. And yeah, it's a pretty good like late game win con as well. Like, especially if it's not chipped, you get an agility up, and everything just stops dropping after you get off some hazards. Definitely need to build some more teams with Luxray. I do think it's underrated for sure, or like a lot of us are underrating this Pokemon right now. But speaking about Goodbye, on one hand, I do want to put Goodbye in meta actually. Like, Goodbye is one of our best rockers. I do think is the best rocker in this tier, maybe alongside Berserker. But yeah, like Goodbye is so good, man. I can't lie. It's a ground type that's not weak to water. Like, do you know how much that annoys me that, you know, Goodbye, like, Camerupt has to Terra to not get cut over by Quaxwell. Do you know how annoying that is? Goodbye is also bulky, has Dragon Tail to dissuade setup options, you know, also hits hard on its own if you go like offensive Goodbye, like Choice Scarf or SD or whatever. But yeah, Goodbye is definitely up there. I don't really care what anyone says about that one. Leafeon, I'll come back to Leafeon actually. I'll come back to Leafeon. I will put GoGo in. I will put GoGo in good options because I do think it's also one of the best grass types we have. It's probably better than Leafeon, but I do prefer Leafeon as a Pokemon. I don't know. Leafeon's huge physical defense. Like, GoGo only has like 68 or something. Like, I don't even know, but it does have a massive HP stat to go along with it, so it's not too bad. But Leafeon's base 130 defense easily just checks One Trio, easily just checks Dug Trio as well. And yeah, it also has like bulk up as well, which Leafeon can't really pull off though. Leafeon in Sun can obviously like SD Terrafire and, you know, start destroying things. It's also a lot faster than Golduck, so like when you're trying to revenge kill Leafeon on the Sun, that's also basically impossible. So like, yeah, there's just things like that. Speaking of One Trio, I'll speak about One Trio as well. We don't really call it meta because like Dug Trio is just kind of better than it. Like, One Trio is easily walled. Like, its coverage is really depressing, to say the least. Be walled by Quaxwell, be walled by grasses like GoGo and Leafeon really hurt this Pokemon. But like, when you get rid of those Pokemon, One Trio could be as dangerous and is as dangerous as Dug Trio itself. It's just easier to handle defensively, so that's why it's not really a meta Pokemon, but it's definitely a Pokemon that people should stop sleeping on, because the W One Trio stands for winning. So like, One Trio is winning, you know. So yeah, things like that. So in terms of that, is there any other good options in this tier that I want to say? Hattrem for sure. I'll definitely put Hattrem in here. Magic Bounce. Like, a lot of teams, like, you'll often feel like you don't want to necessarily use Quaxor on team, so you know you're not forced to just run it because it's the only consistent removal we'll have. You can go Hatchram to obviously magic bounce back hazards from things like Glimmer, Berserker. Though Hatchram is weak to U-turn, so you have to be careful around Berserker. But other Stealth Rockers in this tier like Camerupt and Gabite as well, you can easily block their hazards as well. Alright guys, I'm back. I just had to cut that video for a second. I'm low-key recovered from my cold, but my nose is acting up sometimes, so it's better for me to do some cuts so it doesn't disturb anyone's viewing experience. But yeah, other than that, there's a couple more Pokemon we have to talk about for the good options. Probably should put some of these in meta, to be fair, but first one I'll start off with is Rotom Frost, which I'll definitely put in meta for sure. This one's as good as Magneton in terms of being an electric type. Terra also helps this out a lot. Like a lot of people are like, in theory, on paper, Rotom Frost does what it needs to do. Bolt Beam combination is pretty much unresisted, other than Rotom Frost itself, and Pokemon like Magneton as well. So, like, you can also Terra as well. Choice Scarf is very solid. Like, Trick can obviously, annoy a lot of setup sweepers, can annoy a lot of defensive threats as well. It's just a pretty good Pokemon. It's just solid Pokemon in general. Rotom Fan, on the other hand, probably a good option as well. Obviously worse than, Frost, but still good. Lycanroc Midnight, one of the best Scarfers we have in this tier. It is very dangerous to deal with this Pokemon. No Guard means it just doesn't miss. So, like Banded sets are dangerous. Terra Rock, Choice Scarf sets are dangerous. It's just a pretty good Pokemon all around. The only thing that really annoys me is that like Banded sets are just not fast enough for this meta, unfortunately. Like there's things at base 85 like in DD female, things at like the base 90 which encompasses like pretty much Vivillon, Oricorio, Lilligant, Pyro. Like a lot of these Pokemon annoy you as well, though Choice Scarf mitigates these issues quite well, because this is a running Scarf, this is a running Scarf, this is a running Scarf, and guess what, Terra Rock Stone Edge just kills all of these. So yeah, that's why Scarf is the better set. But still, Trailblaze also works with Life Orb, makes it much more dangerous than Scarf. I do need to try that set as well. But yeah. Then in DD as well, I'll put in DD in good options, because like this one also is pretty hard to switch into, all things considered, and it's only like real checks, or like on paper like Skuntank, though like Specs Hyper Voice just nukes Skuntank. And yeah, like Psychic is pretty hard to handle in this tier as well. Like, to be fair, there's a few checks, so that's why in DD is so strong, because it has a dual stab as well. And Tinkertuff as well. I'll put Tinkertuff in. I won't put Tinkertuff in meta. I think I can put Tinkertuff in meta. Like, it is competing with Berserker as that defensive threat, but Berserker lacks special defense and often has to run Assault Vest to make up for that, which means it's not really running reliable recovery. Though Tinkertuff isn't running that evil because it has to run Heavier Light, but it's bulky on both sides of the defenses, has a lot of utility that Berserker doesn't really have. It has Encore, has T-Wave, it has Rocks. It's very, 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 very passive, but the passivity doesn't really matter in PU when you're knocking off things, items, or you're T-Waving or Encore and something. Encore obviously helps out your other teammates as well, so you gain momentum in that way, which Tinkertuff can offer you. So yeah, I'm putting that in meta for sure. And yeah, I think that is it for meta options. I believe I don't really think anything else should go in meta for now. Good options as well, I'll just start Squawkabillion here. It hits very hard. Like Flamel Guts, Choice Scarf Hustle, Choice Band Hustle, like Steel types again, but pair of like Pyro, Houndoom, Crab is very easy to take advantage of the Steel types in this tier. And once that's gone, Squawk just kind of goes in. So yeah, Oink alone, I'll think about that. But yeah, good options. I'll put Phalanx in here. No Retreat is scary. I'll definitely say that for sure. No Retreat is scary. Flapple 2, DD, Terrifier, Banded, LO, hits very hard as well. Source Spark, similar situation to Leafeon, which I might as well just put in here as well. Both Chlorophyll Mons, both can, SD, Terrifier. Source Spark is definitely the better Scarfer though. It does have better coverage than Leafeon currently has right now. Source Spark has Stomping Tantrum, has Headbutts or Ring Grace to actually cheese people, and that's actually a viable strategy. So yeah, But yeah, I think that's low-key it for good options. In terms of alright options, I'll put Flareon in here because Flareon does check the fires quite well, but so does things like Rampig or Inkaloon. Like, there's also offensive, you know, pressure to them as well, like Dugtrio, Wugtrio. Like, I don't know, even Luxray does the, you know, Guts Terra Normal thing better because it's faster, has access to agility, and it might have lower attack, like 120 versus 130, but you know, Flareon's initial fire weakness means that you know, like you either have to Terra straight away to, you know, activate a Flame Orb, or still just go Toxic Orb, or you know, still be careful of, you know, hazards. You're very susceptible to, you know, Stealth Rocks. So yeah, that's what I'm putting in alright for now. Giraffe I'd say is alright as well. Not too I don't think it's too niche because like it can run like agility, calm mind, stored power set, which is pretty hard to support, but if you can get it going, it's pretty dangerous as well. Dunsparce, probably should put Dunsparce in good options. It is bulky, it is a rocker, not weak to water, does have utility in Glare and Roost. Yeah, good. I'll say that's a good Pokemon. Stantler as well. Haven't really been too impressed by Stantler right now. Have been trying to pull off that same kind of shenanigans with Giraffe with agility, calm mind, but obviously you're more reliant on Terra because stored power isn't originally Stab, and Terra Psychicking isn't really the play, to be fair, because you know, you're susceptible to Sucker Punch from things like Skuntank. At least Giraffe can kind of go like Terra Fighting or Fairy, you know, resist the Sucker Punch and still get the stab on stored power, which Stantler just can't do. So yeah, it is probably worse. It's a worse Giraffe, I feel. And like, if you do want to go like physical Stantler, I don't know, we have to spark in this tier. Like, I don't know what to tell you guys. But yeah, I'll put Beartick in alright because its whole, you know, thing is relying on rain. Outside of that, it's pretty lackluster in general. It is my favorite ice type, but it's too slow to really benefit from anything. It doesn't really have the bulk to do so. Like, you could say similar to Berserk in a way where they hit very hard, but Berserk has like pivoting. Maybe if Beartick had like U-turn, I'll consider it, but it's still a mono ice typing, and you know, maybe you could like Terra Steel, but why are you wasting your Terra on Beartick outside of, you know, rain? Like, I don't really know what to tell you. Again, Swallow's also another Pokemon I haven't really been too impressed with. Like, I tried Curse, but you know, it's not Mark, so you know, it's just gonna be worse. So maybe that has kind of skewed my expectations slightly. Glaceon, I do think Glaceon will be better in this meta in the future one day, but I do think it's alright, all things considered. Like, Fizz Def, Wish, Protect, Terra Fighting is pretty dangerous, I won't lie. Freeze Dry obviously beats things like Quaxwell. Terra Fighting means you beat Steel types. You know what, I'll put Glaceon in good. I've had success with this. Like, it's actually a pretty good Pokemon, all things considered. Who else? Like, the rest of these, we're kind of getting into on-one territory, but I'll put Scovillain in alright, because it's another Pokemon that's too reliant on its archetype to really be something that's a good option to run outside of it. Just like Beartick. Like, you're probably better than Beartick as an overall Pokemon, because Scovillain actually has a speed tier, but it's not that bulky. 75 still isn't really too good in PU standards. Like, all of these guys, like, sure, Magneton's slow, but Magneton has bulk and a superior defensive typing, but like base 90s, you know, base 80s, Scovillain just isn't keeping up outside of Sun. So I'm definitely putting it in the alright options for now. I don't know, I'm not putting Slacking in alright, man. Let me respect myself. I'll put Cacturn in alright because, like, it does have spikes, it is dangerous, like, it does hurt offense pretty hard as well, but it's more of against like bulky, like defensive sort of teams, even though they're kind of hard to pull off, like where Cacturn really struggles, or like bulky offense in general. But yeah, I like, a lot of people say Cacturn's good. I wouldn't really call it good, but it's not bad. Like, this is definitely the tier where Cacturn can actually do stuff for once in his life, at least in Generation 9, so you know, I'll keep it there for now. Ampharos, I'll put Ampharos in here as well because it actually is decent defensive pivot, like as an electric. Like, it does have good special bulk. Like, you can't, like, Ampharos is a pretty bulky Pokemon. Terra can obviously help out its, you know, weaknesses against ground, has Focus Blast, has Volt Switch, has Static as well to punish, like, you know, contact Pokemon as well. So yeah, I'll definitely put it here. I wouldn't say it's too good because like it is taking up a slot for like other electric types, which would probably put in better work, e.g. Raichu, Frostom, Magneton, for example. What else can I say here? Oink alone. You know what? I'll put this in alright because, like, as much as I do like the Assault Vest sets and they are pretty good at checking the QD mons, I don't know. Like outside of that, like its physical bulk isn't really too good. It kind of like Grumpig can still kind of check them as well, but it's just a more offensive version. Like the male one hits harder. It has 100 base attack, but also you know it has like. You have to use the male one to feel like you're actually doing damage, but if you use the male one, you're just losing out on more bulk that the female one has to offer. So you know, like that's why it's a pretty weird situation I find myself in with Oink alone, because I do think it's good, but at the same time it just doesn't deliver as much as I'd like it to. So you know that's why it's in the alright options for now. I might as well just slap in Persian here. I'm not gonna lie, Fake Out Last Resort is actually ironically a decent set. It's actually a decent set. I'm not gonna lie. Like, don't have a Steel type, don't have a Ghost type, Terranol, Fake Out Last Resort, bro. I'm not gonna lie, it's actually pretty nice. But if you don't want to try and meme around like I am, to be honest, I do think that set is legit though. Like, you can just go U-turn, it is a decent pivot, but outside of that, it's pretty unimpressive. That's why I go Fake Out Last Resort, so it feels like a Mondo 70 attack actually, you know, does damage in this tier. So you know, like I'm having a good time. I'll put Shreedol in here. Like there's certain users that are trying to hype out this Pokemon too much, to be fair, but it does enable Rain and Sun to do what they need to do, and outside of that, it's a Ground and Poison, has Parting Shot, has Encore. Doesn't really have any bulk to its name, but you know its utility options you can't really go wrong with that, you know. But yeah. What's my opinion on Frog? I do think Frog is alright. I don't think it's that good, like compared to the rest of these guys, but you know, it's fine, I suppose. Stonjourner as well, like is okay. Like this is like some unimpressive Pokemon. Like I wouldn't even call it niche because, like compared to Lycanroc, like you are a lot bulkier. At least on the physical side, so you kind of have to, you know, take that in stride. But at the same time, Stonjourner's special defense is non-existent, so yeah, take that as you will. Carco is not yet my time to speak about that Pokemon. I'll put Pincurchin in alright as well because, like, same thing with Ampharos. Like, it is a bulky electric type and one of the better Magneton checks because you have an electric community with Lightning Rod, and like you can actually 1v1 like ground types as well if you Terra Water. Like Pincurchin has good you know, options in Liquidation or Surf. You preferably want to go Liquidation, so you Oko things like Dugtrio with a Terra Ground because you do have a decent attack stat, and you know, Dugtrio has no defense. So yeah, things like that. But other than that, doesn't really offer too much. Like Spikes is nice, but that's about it, I suppose. But yeah, I'll put Sligoon alright. Like it hasn't really impressed me too much, but I wouldn't really call it too niche. It's just that like there's also like some other. Is there some Pokemon missing? I don't know. But I'm just going to be slapping mons in here for now. Rabsca, Revival Blessing will always give this thing a niche. It does set up Trick Room and stuff like that. But outside of that, haven't really seen it do too much. But it's not niche for sure. Like, it's Rabsca. Crap, for crying out loud. It's not going to be a niche option in this tier. Just quickly browsing. Micro is also alright because it kind of enables weather as well. But I wouldn't really call it too niche. But I can't lie, like it's kind of competing with Shreedol, but like it is offensively inclined, so I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Pikachu is also probably decent as well. It's just that the speed tier and the lack of defensive utility kind of lets it down. Glimmer, I probably should put Glimmer in good options. Like enables offensively based teams in this meta to do what they need to do. Fracture goes in alright as well. Like I've been trying to make Fracture work, but it's just kind of hard to give this mon the support that it needs currently. But I do think this one's decent enough, I suppose. And yeah, I think that's it for the alright options in this tier. I guess I give Bayonet the benefit of the doubt, I suppose. Don't really have much else to really say on that. Tropius too, I've seen Tropius do some work actually, and Yeah, that's kind of it, I suppose. But I don't know why there's two Pikachu's, but I'll just put both of them in there. But yeah, Sunflora, I mean, it's only there because it's one of the fully evolved Pokemon. But there's no question about why Sunfloras are on one at this point. Delibird's like in the middle of this. Like it goes from on one to like being incredibly niche. Like I might just need a Delibird like tier, like in between, or almost on one. Like it's almost there, like almost on one. Because like Delibird, I don't want to say it's niche because like it's just bad. Like it's just bad. Like there's no maybe ifs or buts about that. It's just bad. But like it's not Sunflora. Like it still has something to offer. Sunflora really has nothing to offer. That's why it's there. But Zwilus, I would say Zwilus is pretty niche right now. I don't really see why you use this over the other dragons necessarily. Like this list is also missing something like Dragloak, which I'll probably put in alright options. Like not every single Pokemon is here, but yeah, definitely would put Zwilus in niche right now. Wiggly Toffee in niche as well. This mod is never really impressive in any tier it's in. Unless it's like ADV lower tiers or whatever, but it is Wigglytuff. There's Sneasel as well is pretty niche. Like it lost all of its options. Like Sneasel still had knockoff, then it would be like it would probably be meta. I'm not gonna lie, Sneasel would be a meta Pokemon if it had knockoff because it's way too fast and the attack side is actually pretty good in PU, but it just lacks any good moves to really make it worth using. Slacking as well is slacking. Like, do I really have to explain why slacking is a niche? Survivor 2, I really want there to be a gen where Survivor's good. Probably ends up being decent in ZU, but PU is just very niche. Hypno as well, competing with Grumpig, competing with, you know, Girafarig even. Like, I don't really, like, it's niche enough, but it has insomnia, so maybe I just put it in alright for now. But it really is just worse than Grumpig in every single way outside of that. Glalia as well, pretty niche. Like we have more consistent spikers in this tier, and Glalia's a mono ice Pokemon, so don't expect too much from it. Pachirisu as well. Better electric pivots, as simple as that, but Super Fang has to be respected. That's why I'm putting it in niche and not almost on one status, because it low-key almost is just an on-one. Gumshoes also belongs in here because it does actually kind of have a niche in Trick Room, but you know, other than that, it's still Gumshoes. At the end of the day, a pretty bad Pokemon. Toadstool, I would also put this thing in niche as well. Haven't really been too impressed with Pokemon. Same as Zora. I don't think anyone's really using this Pokemon either. Crookedoon has webs, but you know, it's Crookedoon outside of that. Hippopotas, put it there. Luminion. Luminion's not impressive. If it had Defog, I'll probably put it alright, but like the only thing I've seen Luminion do is like be on rain, where like it could shine, but like Golduck is just better in every way. Like there's no reason to use Luminion outside of rain, and even outside of rain there's no reason to really use it. Like it's just that obvious. Oranguru as well, I want to always say this mons are unmon, but it's still just another situation where Grumpig is like the premier psychic type, or you know, I'm not counting Oranguru Pau, but like Grumpig is the best psychic type we have, and you know, Hypno and Oranguru, like Hypno versus Oranguru. Why using Oranguru? Like at least Hypno has insomnia, but you know, this is like teetering on almost on. Like it's almost an on-mod. Like it's so hard to really justify using the Dene in general. Greedent, I'll put in niche. Like Oinkologne kind of just replaces this mod's entire existence, but at least like you could pull off a Trick Room belly drum set like you could back in Gen 8, which was actually kind of cool to run. But outside of that, I don't know why I'm gonna use Greedent over Oinkologne. Oricorio is obviously banned. Fletchlinder, this is teetering on niche, but at least it has defog, so I guess I can put it in niche. Same with Gothitelle. I'm gonna say Gardevoir, this is Gothitelle. Same situation as Oranguru. Like, when are these guys ever good in PU? Like, when PU has like 10,000 psychic types to choose from, why am I choosing these guys? Like, it's just obvious. Carco, I feel like people are gonna get onto me if I put Carkol in niche, but I am putting Carkol in niche because it just sucks. Like, it's just mid. It's just bad. Like, I'm sorry, like, it's just bad. I'll put Ice Cube alright. I've seen enough room tours and ladder to actually see that this mon can actually do something sometimes, but no, that sounds more niche to me. But yeah. And then Pawniard is our last Pokemon. Also lost knockoff. Also putting it in niche. There's not really much reason to use Pawniard right now. But yeah, this is my tier list, guys. Yeah, so let me know how it looks. I want to thank you guys for watching this video. Me just rambling on about Gen 9 PU. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.